prejudice.
There you go.
It's a Mark Twain quote.
Exactly right.
And the more you see of the world, the more you understand points of view.
Exactly.
And I have a hard time a lot of times getting. It's probably a reason why I ended up moving away from home. A lot of people from where I'm from, they stay there and that's it, and that's okay. Some of those people are extremely cosmopolitan for even though they have the choice to just be where they are, and that's fine. But some there's a lot of them that are not. They're kind of they're stuck in their ways and they're stuck in their local view.
Just realize why that hurt.
Oh yeah, that would be pressing against that, absolutely. Yeah. Tell me about. Did you bring the Sears drum set to Saudi Arabia in the Chevy?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you did ask me another question, and I did not avoid it. I just about driving the Chevy to Saudi Arabia.
Yes, I love drives, and I've always wanted to drive from Europe into the Middle East, or follow the southern edge of the old Soviet Union, or something like one of those kinds of drives, Right.
Which is currently embroiled in war.
Right. Yeah, it'd be very difficult.
And that's the thing, then and now, those areas were and are embroiled in conflict. There's a border with not necessarily countries, could be sections or sects or the Kurds versus the Shiites versus the Sunnis. There's so many different ancient animosities.
Absolutely, yeah.
That you step back and say, did I just really spend 2 weeks driving through that area of the world?
So what was it like going from Greece to the
It was mind blowing, because my parents.
Set the stage a bit.
Okay, so we're bringing the car back from the United States.
What kind of car?
It was a Chevy Impala station wagon, huge. It had the little fold up seat in the trunk.
70s, 60s,
70s.
70s. Okay.
Yeah, early 70s. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it might have been late 60s. I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, that's.
But it was.
Settings.
It was just after the '67 war. That's right.
Okay.
In between the two big Israeli wars. They didn't make cars in Saudi Arabia. You had to import everything, and a lot of people took the advantage of the big vacation. That's what I was getting to. And the need for a car to go get one in the United States, order it, drive it through the United States, Pennsylvania, Ohio, beautiful parts of the United States. Get to New York, get on a cruise ship, put the car underneath, have a nice cruise, and then get to Europe and drive from Europe around to. A lot of guys wouldn't go through that much trouble. They just go to like England and buy an English car, long-sided and all that, and drive it through Europe, through the Middle East into Saudi Arabia. Some people would take it halfway and then ship it the rest of the way, but the bottom line was, it was best to drive into the country because you didn't have to go through all of the customs and guys with their hands out and that kind of thing. So that's what my dad did twice. We did that twice with different station wagons. And we were young. I think my baby brother was 4, my middle brother 6. I was 8 or 9, and my sister was 11 or something. And it may have been a few years older. But my mom and dad. Well, there's 6 of us in this station wagon, driving. Once we went to Greece, we stayed there 4 or 5 weeks with the family in Greece and did our Greek thing there, and then drove up into Istanbul, as you said, across the ferry, across the Bosphorus, and I can always remember driving into the middle of Ankara, and there was this big square with 18 little streets leaving it, little alleys. So this big road came in from Istanbul, up through the mountains, obviously. And here we are in this square with 18 little alleys going out. We had no idea where we were.
Well, Angkor, Jesus, I mean, that city's like 3,000 years old or something, you know?
Up in the mountains, a beautiful, beautiful location.
Wow.
Central Turkey. And as soon as we stopped, within 40 seconds, the car was completely surrounded with Turks. I mean, 10, 15 layers deep, little kids climbing up and down the car, and adults and stuff like that. But I was going to tell you about my parents. So my parents always, we were talking a little bit about my wife, disarming people. My parents always, from day one, taught us that everybody is the same. Everybody is human. Everybody reacts to a smile and a handshake, and an offer of food or a receipt of food, or speaking the language or whatever it takes to get them disarmed.
Yeah.
And realize that it's obvious we were American, from a mile away. But, and people, it was amazing that even in these very tense situations, people would never overreact. They would never, oh my God, they're in Turkey in the 70s when there was this anti-American, whatever, everything that we read. It never turned out like that. It always turned out as humans talking to humans. And my dad asked, okay, we have no idea, we're lost. Can you please help us? So the older guy goes back and he starts arranging people and little kids, bigger kids, old men, old women and stuff. And they start forming this set of two lines, wide enough for the car to get through.
Right.
Down, out of the square, through this particular alley, I would say about 3/4 of a mile of people lined up to show us the way. They didn't just point. They had everybody line up so that we would go that way and get out back onto the highway.
That's amazing.
And on our way to Syria.
That's amazing.
It was so powerful. As a little kid, I'll never forget
that. Obviously, I mean, yeah, that's had a huge impact on you.
And we were waving to every single person. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. And my mom was smiling.
That's a beautiful moment.
My sister was blushing and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the lines ended, and there was a highway right there.
If we're similar, there's a face or the way someone was dressed from that memory along that line that you remember and think like you always remembered back and thought, I wonder whatever ended up happening to that person. Give me a person that you saw.
Well, I remember the little kids with these little shorts. They would have these little, really high cut shorts. They weren't long shorts. They were just little kids with these little shorts with a button down shirt.
Right.
No t-shirts. They were always button down shirts. But these, the shirts were usually longer than the shorts. Skinny legs and the biggest ass smiles on their face in the world.
Oh, that's great.
And they're jumping up and down. But I always remember the little colors.
Yeah.
But it was. I mean, I'm not trying to say we had perfect experiences all the time. We drove into Syria. We drove through Syria pretty quick. Damascus was, as you know, it's the oldest city in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing to see that again. As a young kid, I didn't appreciate it that much. So we were going into Jordan, close to the Israeli border, and there's a police, roadblock.
Yeah.
Policemen, and they looked like military police to us. And so they stopped us there, and we didn't see anything. We were out in the middle of the desert. We could see the police a couple miles or a mile and a half down on the other side going the other way. The camel's going to cross, what's going to happen?
Right.
All of a sudden we hear jet fighters.
Oh, my goodness.
So the Israeli jet fighters and the Jordanian jet fighters started doing these fights in the air, in the area in between where the two police cars had shoved up. I don't know why they knew that they were going to fight there, but that's where the shooting each other, missing totally. Everybody was totally missing. It was just, you'd see these streaks in the air. I don't know if they were trying to miss on purpose or whatever, drive somebody off. And it lasted about 4 or 5 minutes, and then they were gone. Police moves his car out of the way and starts waving.
That's fine. Come on
through.
Okay,
now let's go on through.
Wow.
We kept driving. It's endless, boring, rock-strewed sand. And we drove into Iraq. And the Iraqis did not like America. We got to Baghdad. And my dad had a reservation at, I can't remember, it was a Hilton or a Hyatt or something. They said, no, we're fully booked. Not a single car in the parking lot, but, we're fully booked. We ended up going to 3 different places. They all turned us down. And we ended up at this a trailer park type of thing. But there weren't any trailers. There were just a couple cars parked there. And there was this big grass hut type building with benches on the inside, circular. And that's where you're supposed to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think my sister was 14 or 15. She was womanly. Mm-hmm. And of course, my mom was. So there's all these Iraqi guys, check this out, and there's like 2 women that are going to sleep in here. And so my dad had us take turns staying up at the night so we could keep these guys away from her, peeping in on our women, so to speak.
Right. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. We got out of there, we went through southern Iraq and got into Kuwait. And finally got to Saudi Arabia in the middle of the night. My dad wanted to drive all the way through. We
drive all the way through. You drove from Greece all the way through?
Well, no. The last day we drove.
Oh no, you stayed overnight in Damascus. Did you stay around Ankara?
We stayed somewhere in Ankara, near in Turkey. I can't remember when. We stayed somewhere. We stayed in Damascus. We stayed somewhere in Jordan, or the Jordan-Iraqi border. Mm-hmm. Baghdad, and then Kuwait.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then when we left Kuwait, as we start to go down towards the Saudi border, they were building a brand new 6-lane highway. It's going to be a beautiful thing. We saw that they put the signs up. This is the Arab way. They put the signs up first without a road,
right.
Instead of the other way around. So my dad goes driving off down this thing, beautiful. Paved, beautiful, separate freeway, not a single car on it. Should have thought about that. Keeps going and going, and finally it turns into kind of a rocky type of thing.
Yeah. And
then eventually a sand kind of thing. Right. 2 o'clock in the morning, we get stuck in the middle of the desert. And badly stuck. We had suitcases on the roof and, bunches of people in the car. No problem. He says, in the morning I'm going to get up and go find somebody to get us out of here. You going to leave us here? Yeah. So he goes walking over the hill, gone. You take care of your mom and you watch this and do this. So we're sitting down in this desert. What the hell is going to happen?
Right.
And these two Bedouins, you know what that word is? The nomads, that wander the desert.
What's the word?
Bedouin.
Bedouin.
Yeah. So they're the nomads of the desert.
Yeah.
That just don't have any home. They wander with their camels and their tents and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Show up and, again, fascinated by the Western women and, kind of getting close to my mom. And so me and my little, brother, just tall, we're trying to get in front of her. And they finally left. Didn't do anything for us. Didn't help us get out. So we're sitting there at about 6 o'clock that night. So 9 hours later, 10 hours later, we hear this noise. There's this big, huge oil truck, 4-wheel drive oil truck coming over the hill with my dad sitting in the front of it, right? Hey, he rescued us. They're going to get out of here. They pull us out, and we're, oh, Dad, fantastic. You're so brave and everything else. We go up over that hill, and about a mile down the road is an oil facility.